this morning. Did you, huh? Yeah, yeah, I think was it the same play I took? Happens. Happens, man. I took a decent loss on shorts this morning as well, but made it back. Did you catch the second play? No, I didn't. It's okay. Um, okay. What's this? I'd still be leaning short, personally. We didn't make any, relevant high. We didn't input any significant bottom yet. If anything, we've kind of just caught a bid. There's really nothing to lead that, there's nothing here that says, okay, the trend is changing. For me, we'd need to reclaim at least Monday's balance up here around 50-20 for me to be like, okay, bulls are back in control. So for now, I mean, day trading is going to be a little bit difficult as volatility comes back in. VIX finally closed back over 15 today. That's definitely something that is nice for day traders, but can also make, losses bigger and winners bigger, right? So it's going to be tricky, but um, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like it's gonna make our life a lot easier just because when we do catch quality moves, they're gonna pay better. But if you're wrong, you're really wrong. So I would say for now, the trend is definitely still bearish. There's been no constructive action to make me think otherwise. Um, with volatility picking back up as well, that's also kind of confirming our bear thesis. So, I mean, we've got FOMC tomorrow, and then we've got Nvidia earnings, I believe, on Thursday. Those are the two things that the market is kind of waiting on right now. Okay, all the better. Yeah. So tomorrow and Thursday are going to be big days for the market, right? Tomorrow's FOMC meeting, there shouldn't be any surprise as it's just the FOMC minutes, right? It's just gonna cover what they talked about and why they came to their decision. But um, who knows? We could get a confirmation that there will be no rate cut in March, and that could really hurt the market, right? And frankly, Mo made a really good point yesterday about how we're unlikely to see a rate cut at all. We're really likely to actually see another rate hike sooner than a rate cut, right? For the simple reason that, you know, data is already being somewhat suppressed, right? Or inflation's being artificially suppressed by the fact that they're not including um, certain factors in their measure of CPI, right? Food and energy, right? The two biggest leaders in inflation right now are not even being considered in the CPI report. And then on top of that, you know, we've left rates flat at 5.5% for, you know, what was it been 6 months since our last rate cut? Pretty close, right? Or since our last rate hike. And we're already seeing inflation start to bounce, right? We have yet to get into the 2% handle. Inflation has picked up over the last report. We got a negative reaction off that last week. And now it's more than likely that if we don't hike again, we're going to see that inflation figure pick back up to maybe 3.3, 3.4 on the next report next month. So Mo made a great point that it's being suppressed right now and it's not even really working as the figure starts to climb again. And what's the Fed going to do to challenge that or to taper that? Right? They're going to give us one more hike at least. So I think that's going to be a tough pill to swallow for the general market. And we're seeing a ton of names overvalued. We're seeing price to book value ratios through the moon. There's a lot of reason for people to be taking profits at these prices. And even if we are going to remain in a bull market, it's totally standard that we can see a 10 to 12% correction, and there's nothing wrong with it, right? So I believe from a fundamental perspective, we're still bearish. Short term, of course, I also believe that yes, from a technical perspective, there's nothing on this chart that makes me think, okay, it's time to flip. You get what I'm saying? Yeah, I get you. So who knows? That's kind of what I'm thinking for tomorrow is there's a good chance that with these FOMC minutes, we're going to see that, hey, there's no chance of a rate cut. And that's going to really hurt the market. And guess what else has been kind of propping up the NASDAQ, right? NVIDIA, AMD, Microsoft, all those chip names, SMCI, ARM, all those guys, the only reason they're still at the prices they're at right now is because NVIDIA hasn't reported yet. Granted, it would be pretty hard for Nvidia to release some blowout earnings and then for them to go higher, but it's possible. I think the likelihood of that is really low, but what I think is likely going to happen is they're going to report a good earnings, likely above expectations, but it's not going to be through the roof able to send them another 100 or $150 higher. I think what's going to happen is they're probably going to end up staying flat, if not seeing some minor pullback. Maybe, if we want to look at the Nvidia chart, um, they could easily pull back into this like this 630, 650 area, and it wouldn't be a problem at all. But you know what that would have? That would have a widespread effect on the rest of those semiconductor names, and it would definitely put a dent in the Nasdaq, right? And if the Nasdaq's selling off, since the Nasdaq has all of the biggest names in the market in it, right? That's going to bring the market down with it as well. So Nvidia having ballooned to this, the what is it, the fourth largest market cap American company, right? It holds a pretty high stake in the S&P right now. If we do see a pretty negative move on Nvidia, it's going to affect names like Microsoft. It's going to affect names like AMD, Google, even, right? So that's why kind of everything's in limbo right now. And I think tomorrow may be a pretty unproductive day. Tomorrow may be a little bit choppy, but Thursday we should definitely see some decisive action, and a lot of those positions, those anticipation positions, kind of unwind, and we'll see more clear trends coming into the end of the week. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, tomorrow may be a little bit indecisive because everyone's kind of sitting on their hands and maybe, if anything, positioning for the earnings or depositioning. But Thursday, once we've got data in hand from both FOMC and Nvidia earnings, we'll see the market move with a little bit more directional confidence. Personally, I think I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong a million times again, but I'm pretty convinced that the reaction is going to be downside. I'd be very surprised if Nvidia somehow, their expectations are so high already. Like if they somehow, I think they'll come in over expectations, but it's not going to be enough to like send them flying higher, right?
Yes. From what I saw on Tip Ranks, they should be beating expectations, but I don't think that they'll follow through with it.
What do you mean follow through?
Like, in terms of like skyrocketing price.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you want to know what's crazy is everyone's expecting them to beat expectations. So
Which is
if they
ridiculous. About
the
it.
thing is, their growth rate is so insane that even if they came in right in line with expectations, like it would still be an amazing quarter. All things considered, if you looked at like a quarterly trend of their growth, it would still be incredible. You could still look at this company and go, wow, they're growing at an outstanding rate. But because everyone's expecting them to beat those kind of guidance figures, if they come in line with expectations, even if it's not a miss, they'll still probably drop, right? And that's what's weird about it, is you've got people's mothers and fathers and sisters, people who aren't really paying attention to the market, who will look at this and go, "Oh wow, they beat on earnings," but then they'll see the stock drop, right, and they'll be confused. And
Yeah.
that's one of the things that a lot of people don't understand is half of this run up has been because people are seeing the ARM earnings, they're seeing the SMCI earnings in those upgraded guidances, and they're expecting Nvidia to do the exact same. So this massive run up, from I'd say from about here, right, from about the beginning of February, you know, these last couple weeks, a lot of this has been holy shit. The semiconductor sector is hot right now. Nvidia's got to do insanely well, when that's just not the case. They're all individual companies. Granted, ARM and Nvidia work really closely with each other and pretty much bounce off of each other. So you could definitely see some similar sentiment and definitely some copy pasted statements in their earnings call. But a lot of this is kind of just matching sentiment, right? Sympathy, as some people would call it, right? They're moving in sympathy with each other. But yeah, I think tomorrow, all in all, this was just a big loop around way to say I think tomorrow's going to be a little bit indecisive. Maybe we see some fear leading into the earnings. Maybe we see some excitement, right? We could see a trend higher either direction, but it's probably going to be pretty slow. And then Thursday, we should definitely see a lot more consistent, clean action. Yeah. But, huh?
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm not sure I'm saying your name. Zakion? Am I saying that right, man? Anyone? Anyone got anything they want to look at?
No, no, no,
Oh, what's going on, man? How you doing?
no. I'm new to the Discord, so I'm just getting used to everything right now. So that's all for me, really.
Yeah, welcome in, man. I'm glad you decided to hop in here. Way to take advantage. If you haven't already, make sure to sign up for analyst notifications so you don't miss out on any alerts. And if you want to just sit in here and listen, that's totally fine. But if you got a question on your mind, man, don't hesitate to shout it out. All right.
Yeah, I will. Thanks.
All right. But other than that, if you guys don't have anything, we can review the planned plays I posted. We can talk about market sentiment. We can talk about a lot of stuff. Anyone got a suggestion? I'm surprised. Typically, we have better turnouts than this. I know some people will probably stop in the later half of the session, but um, I guess we could talk about the plan plays. I alerted Boeing. This thing's pretty clean. Um, definitely relative weakness, right? Following that last earnings, we didn't get much of a move at all. We stayed range bound. And after the slurry or flurry of negative news, right? It's kind of struggling down here. After the third failed reversal attempt, we have found ourselves back at the bottom of the range, and we are building value down here as we've spent nearly 5 days within, I don't know, what was that, Tuesday, last Wednesday's range. And this 203 level has been a clean support level. So I believe that this is likely going to give us a clean breakdown, and we'll be able to push from 203 and test these kind of supportive lows at the bigger 200 level. We'll fill that earnings gap, and there's a good chance of an overshot back into this guy as well. This gap from way back in November, and if we zoom out, we can see that this area has acted as a pretty big inflection point, right? This 196 area. It's been support when we're above it, and it's been resistance when we're under it, right? So this price has been somewhat of a magnet. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that we'd probably test this before giving a bounce attempt. So I'm looking for this 203 to crack. We'll lock in some profits at 200, and then we'll look for a continuation move down into this 196 area. But that's one of the plan plays I posted. I think it's very confident. It's got a clean setup. It's relatively weak, right? And then on top of that, market sentiment is flipping in our favor as well. So I think this is a very confident setup for tomorrow and into the end of the week. I selected that I really like the 200 puts, just because if we do get a move into 196, the return on these is awesome, right? If we get 200 calls and we get to 196, these contracts will have an intrinsic value of 400 alone, right? So that's not even accounting if the move happens tomorrow or Thursday and we've got an extra day or two of time premium. These contracts, if we get to 196, could easily be worth, $500 or $550. If you want to play it safe, the 205 calls are probably your best bet. They all have great volume. They all have great open interest. So, there's no plus or minus from either. The only problem is, if you get these contracts and we only get to 200, then there's a good chance that these contracts can still lose a bit of value if you continue to hold through the week. But anyways, 200s and the 205s are the contracts I like. Again, all we're looking for is weakness under this 203 level, and we should be able to see a clean continuation move a little bit lower into 200 and hopefully as low as this 196 spot. But yeah, just a little bit of a continuation play, nothing crazy. Just what you're looking for is you just want to see volatility remain high. So we want to see VIX stay over 15, and we likely want to see the market continue to trend lower as well. And this should work out for us just fine. And then the next one I like is AMD. And this one I can pretty much guarantee we're not going to see tomorrow. Just because with NVIDIA earnings, tomorrow after hours, there's a good chance this thing's probably going to stay flat. It did see a little bit of a sell off today, as kind of today's action. If you saw across the board, SMCI, ARM, Nvidia, AMD, they all saw big sell offs today. Likely because people are looking at these prices and going, "Wow, okay, Nvidia earnings is on Wednesday, and I don't want to miss any of these massive gains if they happen to sell off." So it's just been people profit taking. It doesn't necessarily mean that the top is in, but it does definitely mean, okay, people are a little bit anxious. People are looking at these prices thinking the same thing we all are. Holy shit, this is likely a bubble. So just a bit of position unwinding, but nothing crazy. We're still very much range bound. We've been stuck between this 165 area and this 180 spot. Today, we rejected all the way back into the bottom of that range. So if we look bigger picture, we can see a very clean, you know, very clean range. I'm going to do a few things on the chart real quick just to kind of set us up here. I wish I could make that. I think that's as good as we're going to get. But here we go. Throwing the volume on. Yeah, so you can see we've got a really nice volume gap here, right? This is all-time highs, okay? So that means based on the last few weeks, last few months actually, there's very little historical action between here, right? Which means if we do end up getting a sell-off, not that it's going to be one straight move and happen in one day, but this could be a very clean short swing, right? You could see a move if we do see some weakness stemming from that NVIDIA earnings, if the results are poor or we get a negative reaction to it, weakness under this 165 area can very easily carry us all the way back down into this 150 spot where our biggest volume shelf is sitting after that. In fact, bigger picture, if you've got time and market kind of gets pretty weak, this 140 area would be probably our best target. That's where the point of control has formed over the last couple months. But yeah, this is one I'm keeping an eye on. Again, tomorrow, probably not going to be much action on it. Probably going to remain in balance, and they're probably going to continue to support this 165 area as we lead into that earnings. But like I said, in the case of a poor earnings, which then results in poor market sentiment, NVIDIA and AMD would be really clean here. You know, break under this range and rejection of this 180 spot could see a nice follow through. So I listed my targets at 160 and as low as 150. So this is definitely one that I'm keeping a close eye on and could be a lot of fun. And if you're willing to hold for a few days or, a couple weeks, this could be a really solid one. Very exciting. But anyways, those are the two planned plays I posted. It's really nothing crazy. I'm gonna mention in my outlook how there's not a lot of great setups right now. A lot of things are kind of moving just with the general market, but I do, like I said earlier, I think after tomorrow, once we've got both Nvidia earnings and ES FOMC is out of the way, we should see a lot more clear and concise action leading into the end of the week. But yeah. Cobain, what's going on? Captain, how you guys doing?
Okay. I'm just looking through this. Just chilling.
Oh yeah. Captain, you want to check anything out, man? Mr. Captain, you want to look at anything, man?
Could you take back a look at Microsoft that you posted? You posted that yesterday as one of the plan plays, and I just wanted your update on it.
Yeah, it actually, okay, so it made the move, but it really only hit our first target. So let me look back at my Microsoft play. What targets did I list? I said 398 to 400. So we got that 398 to 400 target. But didn't get all the way to 395. 395 is all the way down here. So, okay, yeah. I think if it can stay under this 403 spot, you're good. Because this personally feels like just a retest of the breakdown. But they definitely built some sort of what was I gonna say? They've definitely caught the bid down here and worked on a reversal. If this thing opens back over 403 tomorrow, I would probably stay away from shorts just because they saved this range on the daily, and there's a good chance that we could easily bounce this back up. But from the from the intraday perspective, right? We got the breakdown we were looking for. We got the follow through. They gave us first target and everything, but you can see into the close, we tried to reclaim it, which would give us a fake breakdown on the bigger time frames. So that's not what we really want to see. But my main consensus here is just you just want to see sustained weakness under 403. We could very easily, if we gap down tomorrow, I'd still like shorts, right? If we open, around 402 or whatever, just make sure we stay under 403. It's still a great spot to risk against, right? Even into the close today, I would have liked swinging shorts, but it would just matter how we opened. If we opened it back over 404, it would be a stop out, right? Um, I have no clue how this thing's going to open. Actually, it's down right now, right? So it basically gave the retest. Right now it's at 401.6. So 401.6, it's all the way back down here. Swinging shorts on it would have looked great, and it never got back over that 403 spot. So the planned play stays valid. So long as it's under 403, it looks great for us. It still looks really, really confident. I like it. It was unable to. It was Yeah, it was unable to reclaim that balance, right? So this could very easily be construed as a retest of the breakdown, a successful retest. Now that we're already back down at 104.1.6.
Right. I swung short at the end of the day, just like you said. That we were in the range.
Yeah.
My question is, you in the morning, how would you have played those shorts? Because when we got that kind of push up, we got a little push up early this morning. But there was nothing that kind of signaled the full breakdown until we were under that level. Would you just play the entry at the break, or how would you have played that your planned play?
Okay, so I've already got after hours turned off.
Specific volume.
So we opened at 403. There's two things to keep in mind, right? You know what you're looking for. Balance has been struggling to hold this 403 area. We failed a number of reversal attempts, right? The one gap up got shorted. With this, there's a few things in mind that you'd be looking for. For one, anytime you get both ES gapping down and VIX gapping up, granted, this year has been tricky, to say the very least. But in my experience, going all the way back to 2018, when you see both ES gapping down and VIX gapping up, that typically means that we're locked in for a red day that day, right? And there's going to be a follow through reaction on the open. So in this situation, this was a perfect play to just buy the open with shorts.
Okay.
So looking at just the Microsoft chart alone, you wouldn't have known to short the open, right?
Right. Yeah.
But if anything, knowing that, both VIX gapping up and ES gapping down, that would have given you a lot of confidence for that move. And I'd argue that's partially the reason why, Huji and Wizard caught shorts off the bell this morning.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Futures just opened back up a little bit ago. Looks like,
chart play.
yeah, what's up?
You look at SOYB.
What? Soybeans?
Yeah, soybeans.
What's going on here, man?
Take a look at just take a look at it.
Oh, you're buying this dip, huh?
I'm thinking it could be a really good swing trade.
It looks like it. Yeah, it looks like it. You're in the middle of the volume gap still, but the one dip that actually touched the volume taper, look what happened. It was a gap down. They immediately started buying it, and the next day they gapped it up. So
Where is it?
Huh?
Where is that? The bottom of that volume gap.
It's about just under 24, basically 24.
Okay.
But I like it. I think if you're picking it up here, your risk reward is great. What are you risking? You're risking about $1 you're risking $1 if you bought it right here. You're risking about $1 to make, you know, potentially 2 or 3. You know, it's a good trade. I think it's a good swing trade, but it's gonna take a while. I mean, keep in mind these are daily candles, my man.
You know,
Could be holding this thing for a couple months.
I'd like to hold it for a few weeks. I think.
Sure. Sorry, can you guys hear my dogs? They're going crazy or something. Give me 2 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Oh,
The last like days or not.
it's fine. It's reacting exactly how I would have expected. You got one kind of capitulation type move, right? So looking at the last couple of days, right, you kind of faltered. They found a spot here at this 24 like 87 area where buyers were stepping in and they were able to hold it for a little bit, but then you get a capitulation type move and now you're already starting to bid it back. So I think, this could very well be the bottom of this kind of leg down. Just like this one was, right? You find an area where they kind of try to hold it for about a week or so. You get a capitulation type move and then they start bidding it back. You're seeing the same type of action right here.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, I did get that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't enter. I was considering entering today, but I didn't enter in my head, so I was just trying to figure out just kind of the good zone down here.
Sure.
So I mean, yeah, like I wouldn't buy 24, but I just don't know if you're gonna get 24 after like the last 2 days.
I wouldn't think so, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, I'm gonna be completely honest with you though. I don't know the yeah, I don't know the soybean market, man.
Well,
All right.
yeah, from a technical perspective, that's for sure.
Yeah, technicals are fine, but I don't know what catalysts are gonna move this chart.
Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you.
Dingian, welcome in, man. How's your night going? Dingian, you there? Oh, he's typing. Can't talk right now. Not too bad. Well, tag me if you want to look at anything, man. Otherwise, Susio, how's your night going?
I always forget. Session is starting, so I always missed the beginning. What'd you go over already?
We kind of went over Nvidia's earnings and FOMC tomorrow. We talked a good bit about that. We looked at some unique charts. We looked at Fastly. We looked at soybean. We looked at Microsoft. Covered some decent stuff. Nothing too crazy. Pretty chill session. Is there anything you want to look at?
Have you gone over PANW yet?
I have
That
not.
seems to be hitting the market pretty hard. It's having a pretty big effect on the sector itself, obviously. But there was
Ooh, bad
from what I
earnings.
read, some news about like kind of like the consumer or the spend is done. I think there's some macro stuff in here potentially.
Bad
It's coming,
earnings.
I mean, this kind of shit is coming at a very interesting time where we're kind of at a turning point in the market.
Yeah, dude, that's tough. Holy hell, what are they down after hours? Was that like
You gave up the entire, year-to-date gains already. I mean, that's a huge lift.
20 something percent? All the way down to 292. They're all the way back down here. Wow. Okay, so let's cut this off over the last year. The biggest thing that I notice is that the only real volume gap you've got is right about here, right? Let's chart this up a little bit. So you cut through this volume gap like butter, right? Slice through that, and then there should be another one about here. right? Do you see where I'm pulling that from? Wow, you cut right through both of those. The first spot I'd be expecting buyers to step in is where they have before, right? So this 283, 280 spot is probably where I'd imagine you catch some sort of bid. But I'd have to look more into the earnings. What did they say? What do you think they said that was so bad?
Let me see if I can try and find the quote.
Here, I'll try as well.
I mean, I'm not so much interested in this name because I've never traded it before, but kind of A, how it's affecting the overall sector, B, how it may be, affecting tech in general, slash its revenue forecast. That's what it was. They guided down bad. And the customers are reining in spending.
I'm looking through right now. I'm looking for something.
Guided down. I mean, it doesn't look like a crazy guide down. I mean, 200 million guide down is a pretty big guide down, but 1.8 billion of revenue, 8.2 billion revenue.
In searching for the data, I found this tweet. This guy said an hour ago, 1 hour ago, dear investors, get your money out of these risky tech stocks and come over to a much safer biotechs. Pan W.
It's horrible.
Yeah, but
Just an interesting fucking shit tonight. And Amazon is popping off on news of replacing Walgreens in the Dow. I mean, Boyle is popping off on chatter about new Russian sanctions. There's some interesting macro stuff. It's all coming right tonight.
which one you want to hit on?
Curious on Amazon because Bezos has, he's been selling and he's slated to sell a shit ton more this year, right?
Well, he
it's
stepped down.
Popping off the news.
He stepped down as CEO. I guarantee you it has nothing to do with his sentiment of the stock. I think these are all just scheduled sells. I think he's just cashing out on his lifetime investment.
I've never looked at large scheduled sells in terms of sentiment. What I've looked at them is in terms of headwinds versus tailwinds, right?
Okay.
It's increased selling pressure any way you look at it.
Yeah.
So no matter what, there is another large seller that is going to be selling, and that can amp down upside. But more importantly, if you're getting downside, then that can pressure downside. So we're at a spot, between PANW and between SMCI and NVIDIA giving up so much. And NVIDIA's earnings coming up in the next couple of days, and the market in general looking like, maybe due for a correction. With Amazon popping off tonight, I'm looking at 170 if it hits to be a possible spot to take some longer dated shorts, or
On Amazon.
maybe the ER goes out to 160.
I mean, if you're gonna do it anywhere, this is probably your spot. I mean, we've finally gapped up off the earnings. Granted, the earnings were positive, so it makes sense why we've been balancing near highs. But if anything, you've seen a blow off top, and you've now fallen back under the key support. Of course, news of them joining the Dow is big, right? Because now anyone who invests in the Dow is getting exposure to Amazon. But I don't think that'll save them from a potential market downturn, right? Like if we're going to see a 10 to 15% correction across the board, Amazon's not excluded from that. So I will say, I think there are better names to short. But if we do get the move we're looking for across futures in a larger correction, Amazon will not be exempt. They'll be included, but I do think there are better names to short in which you could find, like I'm looking at Boeing, right? Boeing's been hampered by a ton of bad news, and they're already relatively weak, and now you get market correction as well. Amazon is balancing at highs off of a strong earnings. If you have if you have two stocks both at the exact same price and the market downturns, one of them's coming off of a ton of bad news and one of them's coming off of a great earnings. We both know which one's going to get hit harder. right? That's what I'm getting
I
at
don't
here is
disagree. I just that it's popped off, up into the 169 level tonight, where you got a really clean taper just slightly above it on the daily at like 170.40, and you got a nice clean technical gap down to both liquidity gap and air gap on the chart down to around 160. It just seems like a nice level to level setup, which seems I don't know, a little more certain to me.
I mean, I
It's
like
not,
it.
it's not a name I was looking at right now until this news came out tonight.
I think
Really, that was
I like it, but my whole thing is that it was now granted I know you're going to disagree with me on the wordage I use here, but in my opinion it was a logical gap up, right? Market sentiment was extremely positive during that time and the earnings was very strong. So for them to correct that
disagree.
for them to correct that gap and fill it, I trust me, I think we'll see 160 again. We might see as low as 140 or 130. Trust me, I'm not above thinking that it'll come eventually. But if you're looking for this move to be short term and somewhat immediate, that's where I kind of have an issue. Just because, like I said, they're still riding high off that strong earnings. Sentiment is not in that direction yet, right? ES saw a little bit of a red day, sure, but in the grand scheme of things, ES is still balancing at highs. Who's to say FOMC isn't positive when we get some surprise rate cut? I don't. Again, I'm pulling this out of my ass here. I don't think that's going to happen, but we know how things have been. We have called a lot of tops that only give us a 1% day, and then we bid it right back over the next couple days. Who's to say these last 2 days of selling aren't all we're going to get?
I don't disagree. Opportunity cost is real, and it wasn't a name that was high on my list to short coming into this either. So you may be right. I was looking at it off that pop. I feel like anytime I see it pop,
You want to see something we?
ready.
I think this one could be really nice as well.
Sure.
Check this out.
Sure, we buy back like we have lately. I think that something is a little. It feels different right now.
I personally don't
We'll see
either.
tomorrow.
I personally don't either. But
Yeah, Roku and HD are the ones that I'd love to look at actually.
check this out. I think you would like this one. So I went over this a little bit earlier with the guys in here, but check this out. AMD has been stuck in balance, right? I think the only reason that we're still up here in balance is because Nvidia has yet to report, right? We both know that these guys are going to move hand in hand with each other. They had their earnings. It was good. It was growth. They reported strong earnings, but we didn't get much of a reaction off of it, right? We gapped down. It still ended up saving it, but we've built a range. Imagine if Nvidia earnings is poor and Nvidia corrects. Guess who else is going to correct? Right? Our good friend AMD over here. And you've got some really clean stuff over here. You've got this gap, right? You've got this major price gap. You've got a massive liquidity gap all the way from 165 down to 150. If you're looking to capitalize on a potential Nvidia downturn and market downturn, I think AMD is your guy.
I think you're right. I think that's a good call, man. I'll put Amazon off to the side. It's definitely not.
And think about intrinsic value too.
Spoken.
AMD has a much larger. I was just gonna say AMD has a much larger ADR than Amazon. Don't get me wrong, Amazon's market cap is way bigger than AMD's, but in terms of the actual dollars that it moves in a day, which is what matters with options, if you're looking to catch the entire move that you were talking about, that whole massive gap fill, you're catching $7. I think if Nvidia gives you a poor earnings, we're heading back down to this 150 to 146 level. That's nearly $20, right? From 166 here down to 146. That's $20 of intrinsic premium straight into Euro contracts. And this is a move that I think can happen.
Buddy.
Huh?
We're already convinced me.
Oh, well, now I'm just
convinced me.
I'm just saying this to hype myself up now. But this is a move. AMD, this is a stock that this could make this move in a matter of a few days, right? Amazon, we'd need some real big catalyst to get a multi-day move all the way back down to 160. But anyways, fun topic, right? We love shorts.
Well, cool.
I was looking at it earlier, dude. That thing's beat the hell up right now. What do you like about it?
I kind of jumped in without thinking. I mean, I was scalping it nice and I was watching other shit. I had some levels set, on the intraday. It fell off. I mean, it had the verdict in it. It can move hard and it can definitely overshoot. So I was looking at that gap that it was already in from the earnings gap up, and I was thinking, okay, yeah, that's just the market's moving down, and this has the pressure off the earnings, and now it's getting beat up off the Walmart Vizio news. And so it's going to push down below 66, no problem. I didn't really pay attention, and then I swung a couple overnight on my last entry. I scalped it a few times for like 20-30%.
Sure.
But I was waiting for that big move. And, now I'm not really liking where I'm at, so I just kind of wanted you to take a look at it. I'm in weeklies, 65s, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts.
Well, that depends. Weekly 65s. What'd you pay for them?
Look,
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I was gonna say if you entered yesterday, you're sitting pretty, but sounds like you entered today. Is that right? Yeah, I'm not a fan of that at all, to be honest. I think this thing's either, if market cap's up tomorrow, this thing will probably find its bid as well. Um, going shooting for the moon, looking for this price gap,
we're
or
back like place for the people. You can see like all the other numbers at up and down. PRs do one good candle the first day and another good candle the second day, and then they balance for a few days or give a bunch back up. So I think I'm kind of fucked, to be honest with you. Kind of not paying enough attention while I was focused on other shit, taking too much stuff.
yeah, I was gonna say this one looks rough. Just because I think you came right into that volume taper today. There's a lot of sitting orders right there around that 65 spot. Looks like some people started to front run it into the end of the day there, and then on top of that, it's made the brunt of the move today. It's cut off what from 94 down to it's cut off like 33%. In 2 days. So I think it's more than likely going to catch a bid here pretty quick. And with your short dated contracts out of the money right now, I'm not a fan at all. I think those are going to be rough. Now, hey, pray for a big old market gap down tomorrow, and maybe you get lucky. But um, I don't.
Whatever the
Yeah, right. But other than that, dude, I think you might be shit out of luck here.
fourth time is not the charm.
HD. This one's kind of just trending higher. They had earnings today, right?
Yeah,
Was it last night or today?
it was this morning.
Oh, and they got no reaction.
Yeah, that's what's really interesting to me, right? And I mean, it came up into the level. If you go further back, you'd have to go more than the 1 year to see kind of where they were projected off the 363, 365 kind of area, which had been some resistance in the past, or at least a key level in the past. But their numbers were really down in terms.
That's what I was gonna say.
They beat on the revenues.
They beat on revenue. It looks like earnings are down. But you know what I think it is?
The spend was up. And staying in kind of that theme of the consumer being overstretched, I don't see side here like a fundamentals level.
Yeah, I wouldn't see upside either, but you know what the kicker is? The thing that makes it perfectly balanced and why they closed pretty much flat? This guy right here. They increased their dividend.
In that, you're right. I mean, it's one of those stocks that people just want to hold it.
That's me. I'm in that group. I have held Home Depot equity since like 280 when we first got down here back in 2022. and I'm happily holding it since.
Oh.
You know, I don't think I'm ever going to sell my Home Depot or Lowe's equity. You know, and this dividend increase gives me more reason to keep hanging on. You know. Granted, I do think when this thing does inevitably correct, I think it's a clear shot back into this 330 level for a retest. You know, top of the volume taper, and then would also be a retest of the breakout. So when it does eventually correct, whether it be from an overwhelming market wave or it's a poor earnings, I do think the spot you'd be aiming for is 230, but I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
No, and so I did take some here today, on March 15th.
Shorts?
Not expecting it. Yeah, not expecting to get the full moon, but I took 3 just because that's kind of what I wanted to begin. Along the way, but I didn't see it holding up here. I really thought that it would settle like 357 ish, and I thought maybe even next day or two would go and retest that price it hit when earnings came out at 348.
Sure.
I'm just held up as well as it did today, especially overall market downside pressure.
Okay. Yeah, I think this thing will probably, I hate to say it, March 15th is coming up quick, but I think if you get a move back down into that, mid 350 level, you'd probably be best just locking it in. I think this thing's probably doomed to stay in balance for a little bit.
Yeah. Foreign experience.
Yeah.
I'll just stop. Kind of jumped into a couple, so I just wanted to get your eyes on it.
Sure.
Some perspective.
Sure. Oh, we got about 5-10 minutes left here. Has anyone got anything they want to check out before we wrap up?
I was, if anybody else has anything, I wanted to look into Amazon real quick. So I just asked this thing, like, Microsoft is a problem. I really trade with Microsoft, so thank you for that.
Oh yeah.
But, trying to figure out, like, entries, right? You were saying, 168 of the math, right? I was saying the same thing with Microsoft, like it's holding that level that we were looking for to drop under, which was great. With Amazon, it was the 168 down to 165. Now that hit later on in the day, but I got in too early. I got in at like 10 minutes after the open on that first little 5-minute lower high. It went down a little bit, and then I got caught in and then like the pop back up to OP, and then it dropped. So like, where would you have entered? I mean, I guess you didn't take the play, but like, what would have been like the best way to play Amazon today?
Same thing I said about the Microsoft play was, this was an odd situation in which these kind of sell the open type of environments. They come around every so often, but the best way to see it is you see both ES gapping down and VIX gapping up. When you see that, everything's going to open slightly lower, and you're probably going to get a quick flush off the open. So that's what we saw today in that first 30 minutes. I probably would have done the same thing you did. If you entered it in the first 5 minutes, you didn't do anything wrong. You opened at 168 and it was showing weakness under. I would have done the same thing. Maybe it was just, because we did gap down. Maybe you just overpaid for premium. What contracts did you have?
165 until
For today.
So, yeah, for today.
Okay.
But I Friday's contracts, right? Amazon doesn't have daily, so it's this Friday week.
Gotcha. So.
Yeah, February 23rd, 165 puts. If I'm hearing you, I think I probably should have gotten in right at the open, and I could have taken profit, in the first hour. Instead, I took way too long to get in, so I wrote it down a little bit, and then it had those huge candles back up to OP before it dropped straight to the target that you were looking at.
Yeah, so it looks like these contracts opened, and like I said, it was an immediate short the open. So they opened up, contracts opened up at about 90 cents. Lowest anyone got filled was 85, and within 15 minutes they were at 150 nearly. So if you got in early, I don't see why you'd be red unless you.
I waited until the first lower high, like 642-ish.
Yeah, that's why.
Before at that point. I went down for a while. But I guess I was looking, I guess I got greedy. I could have sold this in profit. And then you see the huge correction candles went right back up to OP. I got caught up in that. So I just hit a stop and got out of there is what I did. I held it till about 8 o'clock.
Yeah, so this chart I'm looking at right now, this is the option price history. So we've got your Amazon weeklies, February 23rd, 165 puts. These are the right contracts, right?
February 23rd, 165 puts. Yeah.
Cool. So yeah, like I said, if you entered it at 41 or 641, right? That's this candle. So what'd you pay? 130, 135?
144.
Oh, you bought the top. You bought the top for sure. So yeah, that's why. I can see clear as day. You know, even though we trended lower, it looks like that kind of IV pump in the morning. You fell victim to that.
And then it went down, then it went back up again. So there was, if I had held it for long enough, there was a chance to take profit up there.
Barely. You would have not made much. These contracts, you bought it in at 144, they hit 167. Granted, if you're playing with size, that's good money. But how many contracts did you have? What, 10?
No, I took a small position, just 3. I was being very cautious today.
Yeah. So I don't even think it would have been worth it to keep holding. Because what? You would have sat down, you got in at 145, you draw down to 90, so you lose basically like 40% to make, you know. You sat through a drawdown of $50 to make $20. It wouldn't have been worth it. It wouldn't have been worth it to hold.
So the best entry was to wait until 8 o'clock by the time it came back. Well, 8 o'clock Pacific time, where it came all the way back to OP, which
No,
is
the-
right. Well,
You could have,
yeah,
but in my mind, with the conditions given, right, with ES gapping up, you had ES gapping up, and you had ES gapping down, and you had VIX gapping up, and then on top of that, Amazon was under level. Your best entry was off the open. Getting filled anywhere between 100 and 90 was your best bet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I guess ES kind of hit a lower high also right at that point. So, you know, the market ended up heading down after that, but I just wasn't sure at that time, so I just got the heck out of it. That things are going to keep going down.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, Amazon's kind of a slow mover, anyways. Like, you're not. The contracts don't move a whole lot anyways, so yeah, you got to get a decent move, and you have to have decent size to get anything out of it. If you lose, and you have to,
Yeah.
you know, you win some, you lose some, so that's nice.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely Microsoft was definitely the better play today.
Okay, but Amazon was one of those ones you just had to get off the open.
Both of them.
That contract, the IV,
Both of them you
your
did.
idea for the best. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try to call that out more often in pre-market when I see that, but that's the criteria. If you see ES gapping down and VIX gapping up, that's the criteria was, you know, we're probably going to get a continuation sell off in the morning.
I'll be looking for that more often. I wasn't paying as much attention to that. You know, honestly, I never take plays like right off the open. I'm very hesitant to do that, but clearly some plays require that, or they're just.
Oh,
not
I
should say.
I typically have a rule: no SPX in the first hour of the day, because if you're wrong, the IV crush is insane.
Devastating. Yeah.
So yeah,
So
I
a little bit on these, and they weren't the type of play to wait for. I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I entered about the same time on Amazon or on Microsoft. With Microsoft, had a real nice drop and went way further down, almost to target right away. So I was able to capitalize on that one for sure.
yeah, makes sense.
All right, cool.
Good to hear, man.
That's good. You know,
What's up? CCA, you said something?
IV is juiced hour. It's almost till it's the way that the IV is juiced in the first hour. It's almost like it's its own session, right? It's like even if the stock moves properly, you know, once it settles into the day, in your favor, the IV is never the same.
Yeah, dude, I know traders whose whole job, they make a living selling premium in the first hour of the day.
Exactly. Like even like you see the move, I treat like the first hour as its own session and install the close before that session wraps up, and then trade the next.
The close before the volume crush. But anyways, guys, we covered some good stuff. Nice chill session. Shout out to you guys for showing up. Like always, it's really motivating to see you guys coming in and taking advantage. So shout out to you guys. But I'm gonna wrap up here. No basketball bets for me tonight, but gonna go have some dinner with my mom. Very important. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. FOMC and Nvidia earnings tomorrow. Get hyped, get excited. It's gonna be a great day. Thursday's gonna be even better. Short week. Enjoy it. We're already halfway through the week tomorrow, so think about that. And let's have an absolutely killer day tomorrow. Okay, guys? You guys enjoy your night. And again, thank you guys for showing up.
YouTube, is that right, Wax?
Yes, every session is posted on our YouTube page, and this one will be in a couple days as well.
Cool. Hey, man, thanks a lot for your time. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah. You guys have a good night.
I'll agree with you.